I thought love meant loyalty. I was wrong. Emily sat across from me, hands wrapped around her coffee cup. She would not look at my face. I didn't plan it like this, she said quietly. I stared at the steam rising between us. Then how did you plan it? She swallowed. I'm getting married. The words landed slow, like they wanted me to feel every part of them. To who? You know who? She said. Ryan, I whispered. She nodded once. Yes, I waited for a joke. I waited for her to smile and say she was scared. She did neither. When? I asked. Next month. My chest felt hollow. You're serious. I am. I leaned back in the chair. So this is it? Emily finally looked at me. Her eyes were wet but steady. I love you, that hasn't changed. I laughed under my breath. That's a strange thing to say right now. I mean it, she said. But love isn't enough. For who? I asked. For me, she said. For my life. I clenched my jaw. Did I fail some test I didn't know about? She shook her head. Ryan can give me stability. A house. A future that doesn't feel risky. And I can't, I said. She hesitated. That pause hurt more than any insult. Not yet. I looked down at my hands. How long have you known? Months, she said. So every time you said you loved me, I said. You already chose him. Claire shifted in her seat beside Emily. This isn't easy for her, she said softly. I looked at Claire. Was it easy for you to watch? She lowered her eyes. No. I turned back to Emily. Why tell me now? Because you deserve the truth, she said. And because I didn't want you to hear it from someone else. I nodded slowly. That's kind of you. Don't do that, she said. Don't turn cold. I'm not cold, I said. I'm trying not to break. Silence filled the table. Cups clinked in the background. People laughed nearby, living lives that had nothing to do with mine ending. I hoped you'd understand, Emily said. Understand what? I asked. That I wasn't enough? That timing matters, she said. That choices matter. They do, I said. And you made yours. She reached for my hand. I pulled it back. Please, she said. Don't hate me. I don't hate you, I said. I hate that you let me believe we were building something. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, I said. Claire stood. I'll wait outside. Emily watched her leave. Say something, she begged. I searched for words that wouldn't beg, wouldn't forgive too fast, wouldn't trap me. I hope he gives you everything you want. Her face crumpled. That's it? That's all I have, I said. I stood up. My legs shook, but I stayed upright. Take care of yourself. Wait, she said. I paused. I will always remember you, she said. I nodded once. I wish I didn't. I walked toward the door without looking back. Each step felt heavier than the last. Outside, the air felt colder. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I didn't check it. I kept walking, knowing my life had just split in two and I was standing on the side I never chose. I told myself not to turn around. I told myself this was dignity. My heart disagreed. It screamed for me to run back, to ask her to stay, to promise I would become more. But I stayed silent. Pride held my mouth shut while pain filled every other part of me. I understood then that losing her was not the end. Losing belief in myself was the real beginning. I stepped into the street, carrying silence, heartbreak, and the truth that love alone had failed me completely. Emily left the cafe, and I sat there long after my coffee went cold. I stared at the empty chair and told myself not to cry. People walked past me, laughing, talking, living. I felt invisible. When I finally stood up, my legs felt weak. Outside, I checked my phone, hoping for a message I knew would never come. I told myself this was normal pain, that it would pass. Deep down, I knew I was lying to survive the walk home. Every step echoed with her voice, her calm tone explaining why love was not enough for me anymore. I reached my door, leaned against it, and slid down, breathing like I had run miles. Alone, finally, I stopped holding myself together. The silence felt heavier than words spoken. Work became a blur. I missed emails, forgot meetings, and stared at screens without reading. Mr. Lawson called me into his office and closed the door. He said my name twice before I answered. He asked if something was wrong. I said I was fine. He sighed and told me I was on thin ice. One more mistake, he said, and I would be gone. I nodded, promised focus, and left feeling smaller. I knew he saw weakness. I hated that he was right. My hands shook at my desk, and I deleted a photo of Emily without looking. Shame followed me home, whispering that I was failing everywhere. I believed it. I believed everything bad about myself. The thoughts settled in my chest and refused to leave that day. Nights were worse. I lay on my bed and replayed the cafe scene like a punishment. Her voice said stability. Her eyes said goodbye. I asked the ceiling what I did wrong. I answered myself with silence. Sleep came in pieces, broken by dreams where she stayed. Waking up hurt more than falling asleep. My phone lit up with messages I ignored. Jake called. I watched it ring until it stopped. I could not explain the emptiness, so I chose quiet instead. I blamed myself for not earning more, not planning faster, not being enough yet. Each thought felt fair. Each one hurt. I accepted the pain as deserved. I told myself this was the price of loving, honestly. The idea stayed with me through every dark hour at night. Jake showed up at my door unannounced. He looked at my face and frowned. He asked if I had eaten. I said I was busy. He called that a lie. He told me to come out, to drink, to talk. I told him I was tired. He said I was hiding. I snapped that he would not understand. He said he did not need to understand to care. That made me angry. I asked him to leave. He stood there quietly, then nodded. He told me he would be there when I was ready. I closed the door and hated myself for relief. Pushing people away felt easier than admitting how broken I was inside. I sat on the floor and listened to my own breathing in the dark room. Days blurred together. I stopped answering calls and stopped caring about mirrors. Food tasted flat. Music annoyed me. I was not angry at Emily yet. I was empty. Empty felt endless. I believed this was my life now, a quiet punishment I would carry without complaint. Every morning I woke up disappointed that I had. Every night I hoped sleep would erase the day. I did not see a future. I did not imagine healing. I only imagined surviving another hour. This felt fair. This felt earned. This felt like the cost of loving her fully. I told myself to endure. I told myself this pain was permanent. I did not know yet that collapse was only the beginning. At that moment, I could not imagine anything else at all. I was called into Mr. Lawson's office on a Monday morning. He didn't ask me to sit. He just looked at me and sighed. "I can't keep covering for you," he said. I nodded because I already knew. He told me my performance had dropped, that clients were complaining, that my focus was gone. I said nothing. He leaned back and said there was one option left. A transfer. Another city. A failing branch no one wanted. "Most people see it as punishment," he said. "You can see it however you want." I asked how long I had to decide. He said today. I walked out with my heart racing, not from fear, but from relief I didn't understand yet. I called Jake and told him everything. He laughed once, not because it was funny, but because it was clear. "You need this," he said. "Disappear for a while?" I told him I felt like I was running away. He said running was better than sinking. We sat in silence on the phone. Then he said, "Take it. Start over somewhere she can't reach you." I didn't say Emily's name, but we both knew. I hung up and felt something unfamiliar. Movement, not hope, but direction. I emailed Mr. Lawson and accepted. My hands shook, but I didn't hesitate. That alone felt like progress. Packing was quick. I didn't own much anymore. I stared at my phone, wondering if I should tell Emily. I imagined her polite reply, her distant concern. I put the phone face down. I told myself she didn't need updates from a life she walked away from. The city felt smaller as I left it behind. On the train, I watched buildings fade and thought about how broken I still was. I didn't feel brave. I felt tired. But tired people move when staying hurts more. I promised myself nothing except this. I would show up. That had to be enough for now. The new office was worse than advertised. Cracked walls, tired faces, quiet phones. A man walked up to me and said, "You're late." I checked my watch and said I wasn't. He shrugged. "I'm Daniel," he said. "Follow me." He didn't ask about my past, my transfer, or my mistakes. He pointed at a desk and said, "That's yours." "Work starts now." I liked him immediately. Not because he was kind, but because he was honest. He told me expectations were simple. "Do the work," he said. "Excuses don't help anyone here." I nodded and sat down, feeling judged in a clean way for the first time in months. Daniel checked my reports and frowned. "You can do better," he said. I waited for him to ask why I hadn't. He didn't. He just handed them back. "Fix it," he said. That was it. No pity. No history lesson. I worked late that night. Daniel stayed too. At one point he said, "You're not stupid. You're just distracted." I almost laughed. "Then don't be," he added. Something about that landed deep. He didn't care who I loved or lost. He cared if I showed up tomorrow better than today. That felt fair. That felt manageable. When I left the building, it was dark and quiet. I stood on the sidewalk and breathed. I was still broken, I still missed her, but I was moving. No one here knew my failure. No one expected me to explain myself. For the first time since the cafe, my past didn't speak before I did. I walked back to my apartment, exhausted and strangely calm. I didn't feel healed. I felt redirected. That was enough to keep going. The city never welcomed me. It didn't need to. It was cold, quiet, and demanding, like it expected me to earn my place. Daniel noticed every mistake. "You missed a call," he said one morning. I apologized. "Don't," he replied. "Fix it." I messed up again that week. He slid the file back to me and said, "You're rushing." I told him I was trying. He said, "Try slower." His words were sharp, but they were clean. No judgment, no sympathy, just work. I started staying late, not to impress him, but because routine kept my thoughts from drifting. Discipline filled the space love once occupied. Some nights I failed. I stared at my screen and thought about Emily. I opened my phone, hovered over her profile, then closed the app. "Don't," I whispered to myself. The urge passed like a wave. I survived by standing still. I went home exhausted, ate whatever was nearby, and slept without dreams. That felt like progress. At work, Daniel nodded more and frowned less. "You're improving," he said one afternoon. I asked if that was praise. He shrugged. "It's data." I smiled for the first time in weeks. Stability felt better than hope. I met Sophia in the break room. She handed me a mug and said, "You look like you forgot to eat again." I said I was fine. She said, "No one is fine on caffeine alone." Her voice was calm, not curious. She didn't ask why I looked tired. She didn't ask about my past. She just shared her sandwich and talked about deadlines. The simplicity grounded me. Later, she asked, "How long have you been here?" I told her. She said, "You work like someone running from noise." I laughed quietly. "Does it show?" She smiled. "Only if you know what to look for." Our conversation stayed light. She talked about her commute. I talked about reports. When silence came, it didn't feel heavy. One evening, she said, "You don't owe anyone your sadness." I looked at her, surprised. I didn't say I was sad. She nodded. "You didn't have to." That was all. No advice. No rescue. Respect felt unfamiliar and steady. I stopped checking Emily's social media that week. Not as a rule. I just forgot. Sleep came easier. I woke up tired but functional. That mattered. Daniel pushed me harder. "Take this client," he said. "They're difficult." I said I wasn't ready. He said, "You never are." I failed the first call. I owned it. He nodded. Again. The second call went better. Afterward, he said, "You're learning." I asked how long it would take. He said, "As long as it takes." There was comfort in that. No deadlines for healing. Just repetition and effort. I started trusting my hands again. I started trusting time. One night, Jake called. I answered. "You sound different," he said. I asked how. "Quieter," he replied, "but not empty." I told him I was okay. He said he believed me. That surprised us both. After the call, I sat in the dark and listened to my breathing. It was steady. I wasn't happy. I wasn't successful. But I wasn't drowning. I could stand without reaching for someone else. Sophia waved goodbye as I left the office. "See you tomorrow," she said. I said, "Yeah." The word felt real. Walking home, I realized love no longer ruled my hours. Discipline did. Routine did. Respect did. I was rebuilding myself without romance, without promises, without someone to lean on. It was slow and lonely and strict. But for the first time since she left, I could breathe alone. Years passed without ceremony. Work filled my days and routine filled the rest. I moved up slowly, earned trust, and learned how to speak without apologizing. One night, while I was heating leftovers, my phone rang. It was Jake. I almost didn't answer. "You alive?" he asked. I said yes. He hesitated, then said, "I heard something about Emily." I told him I didn't need updates. He said he knew, but this felt different. I leaned against the counter and listened, telling myself it meant nothing. I was lying, Jake said her marriage wasn't what it looked like. He said Ryan controlled the money, checked her phone, and spoke over her in public. He's always angry, Jake said, and broke somehow. I laughed once. That sounds like their problem. Jake went quiet. You okay? He asked. I said I was fine. After we hung up, I stood there longer than needed. I wasn't happy about the news. I wasn't hopeful either. I felt clear, like fog lifting from something I already left behind. Memories came back without asking. Emily at dinner, smiling while Ryan talked about investments. Emily nodding while her mother Linda said, "Security matters." I remembered Emily whispering to me, "He has a plan." I remembered answering, "So do I." She smiled sadly then. Linda never did. Love doesn't pay bills, Linda once said. Emily looked torn. Ryan looked confident. I looked young. Those moments made sense now. Promises sound strong when you're afraid. Luxury feels safe when doubt grows louder than trust. I didn't reach out. I didn't ask questions. At work, Sophia noticed I was quiet. Long day? She asked. I said yes. She nodded. That happens. She didn't push. Later, Daniel called me into his office. Good numbers this quarter, he said. I thanked him. He added, don't let success make you careless. I promised I wouldn't. Walking back to my desk, I realized how far I'd come. I was being warned about winning, not failing. That mattered more than gossip ever could. Jake texted again a week later. It's getting messy, he wrote. I didn't reply. At night, I thought about Emily sitting in a house that looked perfect from the outside. I imagined silence where laughter should be. I imagined her realizing too late that security without respect feels like a cage. I didn't smile, I didn't ache, I just understood. Karma didn't arrive with drama. It arrived quietly, like truth finally being heard. Sophia asked me to join her for coffee. You seem distracted, she said. I shrugged. Old noise. She stirred her cup. Does it still hurt? I thought carefully. It doesn't control me, I said. She smiled. That's progress. We talked about deadlines and plans. When she laughed, it felt easy. I realized I wasn't waiting for my past to fix itself. I was already living somewhere else. Another flashback came. Emily in the cafe, saying Ryan could give her a future. I believed her. She believed him. He believed in appearances. From what Jake said, appearances were all Ryan had left. I didn't feel justice. I felt distance. The life she chose was cracking, not because I wished it to, but because it was built on fear instead of truth. I watched from far away, untouched and uninvolved. I didn't interfere. I didn't warn her. I didn't celebrate. I kept showing up to my own life, letting time do what it always does. Reveal, slowly, honestly, without mercy or favor. The deal closed on a Thursday afternoon. Daniel stood in front of the room and said my name. People clapped because that's what people do. I nodded, shook hands, and sat back down. My phone buzzed with messages from coworkers. Well deserved. Nice work. I thanked them all. When the room emptied, Daniel stayed behind. You earned this, he said. I asked what came next. He smiled. More responsibility. I waited for the excitement to hit. It didn't. I felt calm, almost distant, like I was watching someone else succeed with my hands. Daniel called me into his office later. Promotion is official, he said. I asked if he was sure. He raised an eyebrow. You doubt data now? I laughed. Just checking. He leaned forward. You're reliable. That matters. I thanked him and stood to leave. He stopped me. Don't disappear on me, he said. I promised I wouldn't. Walking back to my desk, I realized no one was waiting to celebrate with me. That used to scare me. Now it felt quiet, not lonely. Sophia stopped by with 2 coffees. Heard the news, she said. Congrats. I said thank you. She handed me a cup. You don't look thrilled, I shrugged. I thought it would feel louder, she smiled. Winds don't always shout. We sat there sipping coffee. No pressure, no questions. You did this, she added, not to prove anything, just because you kept going. Her words settled gently. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. That night, Jake called. Big man now, he joked. I told him about the promotion. He whistled. She would have loved this, he said, then paused. Sorry, I surprised myself by smiling. It's okay, I said. I don't need that anymore. He went quiet. That's new, he said. Yeah, I replied. It is. We talked about nothing important and hung up. I didn't feel the urge to check Emily's page. I noticed that and let it be. At work, people listened when I spoke. They trusted my decisions. I corrected mistakes without apologizing for existing. Daniel nodded more often than he frowned. "Good call," he said during a meeting. Those words meant more than applause. They meant consistency. At lunch, Sophia asked, "What does success feel like now?" I thought for a moment. "Stable," I said. She nodded. "That's underrated," I agreed. Stability had a weight to it, but it didn't crush me. Later, alone in my apartment, I sat on the couch and let the quiet surround me. I thought about Emily, not with longing, but with distance. I imagined telling her about the promotion and realized I didn't care about her reaction. That surprised me. The pain was still there, like an old scar that tingles when it rains. But it no longer guided my steps. I hadn't climbed this far to be seen by her. I climbed because standing still hurt more. Sophia texted me a simple message. "Proud of you." I stared at the screen, no expectations. No demands, just acknowledgement. I typed back, "Thank you." It felt enough. I didn't need fireworks. I didn't need revenge. Success didn't erase the past. It just placed it where it belonged. Behind me, I went to bed early. Sleep came easy. In the dark, I understood something quietly important. I didn't become successful to prove her wrong. I became successful because I stayed when leaving felt easier. The win felt empty at first because it wasn't meant to fill a hole she left. It was meant to build a life I could stand inside without asking permission. That realization stayed with me as I drifted off, steady and unafraid. My phone buzzed on the nightstand just after midnight. I ignored it at first. Nothing good arrives that late. It buzzed again. I reached over, half asleep, and froze when I saw her name. "Emily." One line. "Can we talk?" My hands started shaking before my mind caught up. Memories rushed in without warning. The cafe, her voice, the way she looked past me. I locked the screen and sat up, breathing slowly, telling myself this was nothing. I failed at that. My heart was already loud, and sleep was gone for good. I paced my apartment, phone in my hand, reading the message again and again. I didn't open it. I didn't reply. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall. Why now? I asked the room. There was no answer. I imagined her face, nervous or confident, and hated that I still could. I told myself I owed her nothing. I told myself silence was power. Then curiosity whispered that silence could also be fear. I didn't know which one I was feeling. I called Jake. He answered immediately. "You sound tense," he said. I told him about the message. He sighed. "Don't do it," he said. "Nothing good comes from reopening old doors." I asked if he thought she wanted forgiveness. He laughed. "She wants relief," he said. "That's different," I thanked him and hung up. His words stayed with me, heavy and practical. I didn't reply to Emily. Not yet. At work the next day, Sophia noticed. "You're quiet," she said. I told her I hadn't slept. She nodded and waited. I hesitated, then said, "Someone from my past reached out." She looked at me carefully. "Do you want to talk about it?" I said I didn't know. She didn't push. "Whatever you choose," she said, "make sure it's for you." Her silence was louder than advice. It made space instead of filling it. That night, I sat with my phone again. The message was still there, unchanged. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. I asked myself what I wanted. Closure sounded clean but vague. Answers sounded tempting but dangerous. Jake texted, "I wanted to understand why this still mattered." I stared at my reflection in the dark screen and barely recognized the man looking back. He looked steadier, older, less desperate. I finally replied, "We can talk." My thumb hovered, then pressed send. My chest tightened immediately. She responded fast, like she had been waiting. "Thank you," she wrote. "Just coffee." I agreed without adding anything else. We chose a public place. Neutral ground. When I put the phone down, I felt both lighter and heavier. I knew something was coming. I didn't know what. Did later. "You sure?" I replied, "No." He sent back, "That's honest." Sophia didn't text. She just nodded when I left work early the next day. Her eyes said be careful without saying a word. I appreciated that. I didn't need permission. I needed awareness. As the meeting got closer, my thoughts sharpened. I wasn't rehearsing apologies or speeches. I wasn't planning to win. I was preparing to listen. That scared me more than anger ever did. Listening meant letting her speak again. It meant opening a door I had sealed with effort and time. Walking home, I realized something quietly important. I wasn't the man she left behind anymore. That man begged in silence and measured his worth in her choices. This man had learned to stand still without falling apart. I didn't know what I wanted from the meeting, but I knew I would walk in whole. Whatever happened next would not erase that. I arrived early and chose a table near the window. When Emily walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked thinner, slower, like she was carrying weight she couldn't put down. She smiled when she saw me, but it faded fast. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I answered. We sat in silence until she spoke again. "Thank you for coming," I nodded. I noticed her hands shaking around the cup. Once, she filled rooms without trying. Now she seemed unsure where to place herself. Like confidence had quietly left her body. I felt calm watching this change unfold between us silently. She took a breath and said, "I don't know where to start." I said, "Anywhere." That seemed to steady her. "Things aren't good," she said. "With Ryan." I didn't react. She waited, then continued. "He's in trouble. Legal trouble." I raised an eyebrow. "What kind?" She looked down. "Bad decisions, loans, shady deals." She laughed weakly. "The security I chose disappeared." I listened without judgment. She kept talking, faster now, like she was afraid silence would stop her from finishing. I let her words fall freely, noticing how every sentence carried regret and exhaustion across her tired face and voice. She wiped her eyes and said, "Money is tight." I nodded once. "He controls everything," she added. "I have to ask before spending." I asked, "Is that why you called me?" She hesitated. Partly, the pause told me more than her words. "I made a mistake," she said. Her voice cracked. I waited. She looked at me, searching for comfort. I gave none. For the first time, she was explaining herself, and I was not rushing to save her. My silence held firm, shaped by years of learning restraint and self-respect, instead of old habits returning to hurt me. "Ryan is angry all the time," she said. "He blames me." I asked, "For what?" She shook her head. "For believing him." That answer sat heavy. She leaned forward. "I thought choosing him meant safety." I remembered her mother's voice without naming it. "I was wrong," Emily said. I nodded again. No anger rose, no victory either. I felt removed, like watching a story that once belonged to me but no longer did. Distance settled where pain used to live. It surprised me how calm my breathing stayed while she unraveled slowly in front of me, speaking truth aloud now. She said, "I don't expect anything from you." I said, "That's good." She flinched, then nodded. "I just needed you to know." I asked, "Know what?" She answered, "That I see it now." I believed her. That didn't change anything. I didn't feel superior. I didn't feel tempted. I felt finished. The man who waited for apologies was gone. The man listening now had already survived the worst part alone. I realized her regret arrived too late to rewrite what time had sealed between us. Inside my rebuilt sense of self and quiet resolve, I guarded carefully now, always forward. When we stood to leave, she asked, "Are you happy?" I paused. "I'm stable," I said. She smiled sadly. "I'm glad." Outside, we said goodbye without promises. I walked away without looking back. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt distance. That distance protected me. It reminded me that growth is quiet and karma doesn't need my help. Her life cracked on its own. Mine kept moving forward, steady and whole. I carried that understanding home, lighter, knowing I owed her nothing more. Not forgiveness, not punishment, just the truth we finally faced together, years too late, in a quiet ending. Emily didn't leave after our first meeting. She asked to talk again, and I agreed. We sat across from each other, quieter this time. Her eyes were red before she spoke. "I can't hold this anymore," she said. I waited. She pressed her palms together. "I ruined everything." Her voice cracked, and she covered her face. "I'm so sorry." I said nothing. She looked up, desperate. "I should have trusted you." I felt the words land heavy, but late. I didn't interrupt. I let her speak because silence was the only honest thing I could give. She started crying openly then. "I was scared," she said. "I chose comfort over love." I nodded once. She leaned forward. "Please say something." I took a breath. "I'm listening," I said. That made her cry harder. "I need your forgiveness," she said. I need to know I didn't destroy everything. I remembered myself on the floor of my apartment, shaking, unable to sleep. I remembered how alone I felt. I remembered surviving that without her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't soften it either. I forgave you, I said. She froze. You did? I nodded. A long time ago, relief flashed across her face, then hope. Then maybe we can try again, she said quickly. I know I don't deserve it, but I've changed. I watched her carefully. The old me would have reached across the table. The new me stayed still. Changed how? I asked. She wiped her cheeks. I see what matters now. I believe she meant it. Belief didn't mean agreement. She said. I think about you all the time. I answered, I don't think about you the same way. That hurt her. She nodded like she expected it. I deserve that, she said. I just need one chance. My chest tightened. Part of me wanted justice, another part wanted peace. I asked myself which one would last longer. I thought about the nights I survived alone. I thought about the man who rebuilt himself quietly. I thought about how hard it was to become him. I didn't wait for you, I said calmly. She stared at me. What do you mean? I said, I forgave you, but I kept living. Her shoulders dropped. So there's no hope, she whispered. I shook my head. Not like that, she covered her mouth. I would leave him, she said. I would choose you now. I felt the weight of that offer. It was heavy because it was real. It was empty because it was late. Choosing me now isn't the same, I said. I needed you when it was hard. She nodded slowly. I know. She reached out, then stopped herself. I miss who we were. I said, I miss who I was. That ended something between us. Tears streamed down her face. I hate myself for this, she said. I replied, hate won't fix it. She looked up. Then what will? I answered. Time already did what it could. She whispered, say you don't love me. I thought for a moment. I don't love you the way you need, I said. That was the truth. She closed her eyes. I'm sorry, she said again. I nodded. I know. We sat in silence, letting the words settle. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt release. The struggle inside me quieted. Justice would not heal me. Peace already had. When we stood, she asked, will you be okay? I said, I already am. She nodded, broken and accepting. I watched her walk away and felt no urge to follow. I had forgiven her long ago. I just didn't wait. I didn't argue anymore. There was nothing left to defend. Emily looked at me like she was waiting for anger, for blame, for something loud enough to punish her. I stayed calm. That calm confused her more than shouting ever could. So this is goodbye, she said. I nodded once. This is me moving forward, I replied. My voice didn't shake, and that surprised both of us. She took a deep breath and said my name softly, like it still belonged to her. I can fix this, she said. I know what I lost now. I listened without reacting. Knowing isn't the same as choosing, I said. She flinched. I'm choosing you, she insisted. I shook my head slowly. You're choosing relief, I answered, and I can't be that for you anymore. She started crying again, quieter this time. I don't want to lose you, she said. I felt the truth settle gently instead of cutting me open. You already did, I replied. I did, I said. I lived it. The table between us felt wider than distance, filled with years that couldn't be crossed. I wasn't proud. I wasn't cruel. I was done. I don't hate you, I told her. I just don't belong in that chapter anymore. She looked up, eyes swollen. So what am I supposed to do now? She asked. I answered honestly. The same thing I did, I said. Live with the choice and keep going. She nodded slowly, like each word weighed something inside her. You're really leaving, she said. I already left, I replied. This is just me not coming back. Her shoulders sagged. I thought love would save me, she whispered. I stood up. Love isn't a rescue plan, I said. It's a decision you make every day, especially when it's uncomfortable. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she said, will you ever regret this? I thought about my empty apartment years ago. About rebuilding myself without her voice guiding me. No, I said. I regret staying small for someone else's fear. She pressed her lips together. I wish I met this version of you, she said. I answered. You did. You just didn't want him then. That landed hard. She stood up slowly, steadying herself. I won't ask again, she said. I nodded. Thank you, I replied. We walked toward the door together, then stopped. She looked at me one last time. I hope you're happy, she said. I meant it when I answered, I'm choosing peace. Saying it out loud made it real, like a door finally closing behind me. Outside, the air felt lighter than I expected. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. Walking away wasn't revenge built from anger. It was the result of growth she couldn't reach anymore. She lost me without cruelty, without insults, without raised voices. She lost me because she chose a different life. I chose mine now, without carrying her mistakes as my burden anymore. I walked down the street alone and felt steady. My phone stayed silent, and for once that felt right. The past didn't chase me anymore. Every step forward felt intentional. I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. I was choosing a future built on what I survived, not what I lost. That choice felt stronger than pain ever did. I understood then that revenge didn't need action. Silence was enough. Growth was enough. Walking away was my answer to everything she broke without meaning to. I chose my future over reopening wounds. I chose calm over chaos. I chose myself without apology. And as I disappeared into the night, I knew the chapter was closed. Not with anger, but with clarity that would carry me forward. I didn't look back. I didn't need closure beyond my own resolve. The future waited quietly, open and honest. I stepped toward it without fear, carrying lessons instead of regret, and knowing that choosing myself was the only ending that ever made sense. That truth stayed with me as I walked on, lighter, certain, and finally free at last now. Sophia and I sat across from each other with untouched coffee between us. She broke the silence first. You look lighter, she said. I smiled. I finally am. She waited, giving me space instead of questions. That made it easier to speak. I ended something, I said. Something old. She nodded. Do you want to talk about it? I took a breath. I do. She leaned back and listened, not reaching for her phone, not interrupting, just present. That alone felt different. I told her about Emily. I told her about the cafe, the silence, the years it took to stand again. I didn't hide the ugly parts. I wasn't strong back then, I said. Sophia shook her head gently. You survived, she replied. That's strength too. Her words didn't rush to fix me. They acknowledged what already happened. I felt understood without being rescued. That mattered more than sympathy ever could. She asked, What do you want now? I thought for a moment. Peace, I said. Consistency, she smiled. That sounds realistic? I laughed quietly. I'm done with dramatic. She raised her cup. Good, she said. Drama is exhausting. We shared a small smile. No sparks. No tension, just comfort. I realized I wasn't trying to impress her. I was just being honest. Sophia said, I don't need promises. I nodded. I can't make big ones. She said, I don't want big. That settled something inside me. I told her, I don't want to be needed. She answered, neither do I. The relief was immediate. We weren't filling holes. We were standing side by side. That felt new and steady. I asked her what she wanted. She said, someone who shows up. I said, I can do that. She replied, then let's start there. No timeline, no labels, just intention. I noticed how calm my body felt. No recent thoughts, no fear of loss. Just trust growing slowly, without pressure. I finally understood why things never worked before. I had been chasing certainty instead of building it. We walked outside together. The night air was cool. She asked, Are you scared? I answered honestly, a little. She smiled. Me too. That shared truth felt grounding. We didn't hold hands. Respect filled the space where desperation used to live. Before we parted, she said, Thank you for trusting me. I said, Thank you for not rushing me. She nodded. We'll take it one step at a time. I watched her walk away and felt content, not anxious. That was new. On the way home, I thought about love. Not the kind that demands proof or sacrifices peace. The kind that grows quietly through honesty and patience. I finally understood what partnership meant. Not saving each other, not fixing the past. Just choosing calm together again and again. When I reached my door, I realized something simple and true. I wasn't healed because someone loved me. I was healing because I learned how to love without losing myself. That realization stayed with me, steady and warm, as I stepped into a future that felt safe enough to build slowly. I used to think winning meant watching someone else lose. Movies taught me that. Pain taught me something different. I didn't ruin Emily's life. I didn't need to. Life handled that on its own. quietly and without asking for my help. One evening, Sophia asked, "Do you feel like you got justice?" I thought about it. "I feel like I got peace," I said. She nodded. That sounds better. It was. Revenge would have kept me tied to the past. Peace let me leave it behind. Jake called a few days later. "You ever think about how different things could have been?" he asked. I said, "Sometimes." He waited. "Do you regret not fighting harder?" I shook my head even though he couldn't see me. "I fought," I said. "Just not the way you expected?" He laughed softly. "You always were stubborn," I smiled. "I learned when to stop bleeding for someone else." That ended the question between us. At work, Daniel pulled me aside. "You're steady," he said. "That's rare." I asked if that was a compliment. He said, "It's trust." I took it seriously. Trust meant consistency. It meant showing up whole instead of hungry for approval. I realized how much I had changed when I didn't feel the need to tell anyone about my past. It no longer explained me. It didn't excuse me or define me. It was just something that happened. Sophia and I cooked dinner together one night. "Nothing fancy," she asked. "Do you ever miss who you were?" I answered honestly. "I miss his hope," she said. "You still have it." I replied, "I just protect it now." She smiled. "That's healthy." The word fit, healthy, didn't mean perfect. It meant balanced. It meant calm after years of noise. I thought about Emily sometimes, but not with anger. I hoped she found strength somewhere, even if it came late. I didn't need her to apologize again. I didn't need her to understand me. Closure didn't arrive with speeches. It arrived with quiet mornings, steady work, and honest conversations. It arrived when I stopped measuring my worth against someone else's choices. One night, standing on my balcony, I said out loud, "I survived." The words felt simple and complete. I survived heartbreak without becoming bitter. I survived loss without becoming small. I grew without destroying anyone in the process. That felt like real victory, not loud, not dramatic. Just earned. Sophia joined me and asked, "What are you thinking about?" I said, "The past finally feels far away." She rested her hand on the railing. "Good," she said. "The future needs room." I nodded. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I wasn't chasing anything. I was building. I didn't win the way movies promise. I didn't stand over ruins and feel powerful. I won quietly. I won by walking away. I won by choosing growth over revenge, calm over chaos, and honesty over fear. I wasn't defined by who left me anymore. I was defined by who I became after. And that version of me was strong enough to keep moving forward, without looking back.